Kembo, Natatan Zambi, Yamazulu, King Fumu Kwakuisa. Kembo, Natatan Zambi, Yamazulu, King Fumu Kwakuisa.
Brothers and sisters, Nusiemi. Hope you're all doing great. My name is EKK. Welcome to part 2 of this video where we've been talking about how to identify the most potent healing plants. We talked about how well-being should be the rule rather than the exception. And we talked about hybrids and non-hybrid plants, how to identify these plants. We talked about natural and unnatural hybrids. We also talked about what happens when you consume unnatural hybrid foods, some of the side effects, and talked about the importance of knowing the distinctions between these types of plants. So we'll continue from there. Now, all herbs that should heal, they are on the alkaline side. On the pH scale, 7.1 is where alkaline starts, 7.0 is neutral, and anything below that is acidic. So Mother Nature, if you're using acid plants, it means you're rejecting Mother Nature. Also, Western medicine does that a lot. They'll get a plant, hybrid it, patent it, and when they hybrid it, it's high yield, it has other properties, but it's unnatural. And they use it to make all these medicines. And what happens, those medicines are just damaging to the body, either to your organs, and many of them, you can't even take them for long periods of time because they do put a lot of stress on the body. They might cause other health problems, a lot of side effects. They ignore Mother Nature. It's all about money they're making, prestige, their Nobel Prize. It's about human beings trying to glorify themselves, Anyway, so Mother Nature gave us powerful plants in a ready state for healing. But because man has decided to substitute his own, the result is now people living in a constant state of sickness, things like mental fog. You see autoimmune diseases are on the rise, just all kinds of terrible problems. People's brains are just blocked with, Alzheimer's, autism, just insanity. Sometimes the food has a lot to do with it. Sometimes some are just possessed, Anyway, so living out here in a Babylonian society has compromised a lot of things, including our connection to Mother Nature. And I believe this is deliberate. We might not see the big picture, but a lot of these people who are in charge of a lot of things in this society, they are aligned with very dark powers, and a lot of the decisions they make might look like it's for the good of everyone, but no, the aim is to disconnect us from the Most High, disconnect us from the natural things that He has provided for us, and to just we know what the enemy is here to do: kill, destroy, steal. So we have to keep our eyes open and just stick with the Most High, and He will lead us to victory in all areas of our lives. So now, according to Dr. Sebi, there's only one disease, and that disease is mucus. Now, disease occurs when there's inflammation from an acid environment in the body. Diseases stem from the accumulation of mucus, or when the mucous membrane has been compromised. So when there's a lot of inflammation, and that acid environment is building up, the body now starts to produce mucus in response to that acidity, in a way of trying to protect itself. The problem is that when that mucus becomes too much, it starts to block other things. Your lymphatic system that should be getting things out of your body can become blocked and not able to function the way it's supposed to. So that's the problem with these unnatural foods. They promote the production of mucus in the body, and they promote the compromising of the mucous membrane. And now, in the case of Dr. Sebi, from his point of view, having diabetes is not different from having leukemia. Why? Because he says there's only one disease, and that disease is mucus. So what the medical profession has done really is to name each disease based on where the inflammation is happening in the body. According to Sebi, he says these diseases like diabetes and leukemia, they come from the same source. So he says there's only one disease manifesting in 1,000 different ways. And all diseases involve the compromising of the mucous membrane. So he says where it takes place determines where the disease is located. So if the mucus is in the bronchial tube, that's asthma. If the mucus is accumulating in the lungs, that's pneumonia. If it's in the brain, you could have Parkinson's, schizophrenia, insomnia. If it's in the pancreas, then you have diabetes. If it's the prostate glands, then you're going to have that person having prostate issues. But, we live in Babylon. So rather than being promoted and his accomplishments celebrated, instead they try to suppress this information. It's going to come out eventually. We Africans, we're going to go back to the traditional mode of healing. We're going to be empowered to get back to the practices of our forefathers. Now, mucus itself is a sign of chemical imbalance in the body. To reverse disease and remove the source of mucus, when you switch to foods that are electrical and that comply with nature and how the Most High intended, this will bring back the energy, through regular cleansing, eating foods and herbs with live minerals, electric plants. It will transform your mind and your body, your soul, your spirit, And Dr. Sebi had a lot of powerful herbs that he used to remove mucus from the body. There are great herbs like burdock. You can have some of these as like teas and things like that. We'll do more on these groups of herbs, specific groups of herbs, those that are good for energy, those that are good for calming, those are good for male, female. We'll do more of those, a separate video. I don't want this to go on too long. Okay, so how do these healers approach healing? Some use fruits and herbs. First thing they do is to get your bowels moving and, get the lymphatic system operating again. They get the kidneys filtering. What happens is that your cells, when they have waste, that goes into the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is responsible now for making sure that gets to the kidneys and have it filtered out too. When there's stagnation and things are not moving properly, that's where, we start to see a lot of inflammation, mucus, and disease begins. So disease manifests when things are not moving due to blockages and stagnation and inflammation from eating the wrong foods, these artificial foods. So, when Sebi approach healing, he addresses the body as a whole by cleansing all the cells. He kind of treats the body as a single interconnected unit rather than focus only on one area with, that has the symptoms. No, sometimes the symptoms can be in your leg, but the problem is actually in somewhere else in the body, a different organ altogether. Sometimes you go to the doctor and you're like, they're not really sure what you're, so you become a victim of this guessing game where they're just trying different things. Some natural healers, they will look at, just looking at your face, they can tell what's wrong with you. They can tell you already what organs are in distress, what needs urgent attention, or, they can tell the state of your head from looking at your face. But in allopathic medicines, so we'll do a separate video on that, just noting a lot of things that goes on there that really shouldn't be that way, but we'll talk about that some more. Most, successful natural healers, the reason why they are so successful is that they address the body as a whole. So basically, listen to your body. Sometimes you have a nagging headache, a pain, or something, you see all your skin problems, whatever. Your body is trying to tell you something. It's telling you, I need to heal, but I can't, because something that you are eating is actually causing me to be unable to heal, and it's not giving me what I need. So listen to your body. It's trying to tell you something, okay? Now, another approach to healing is the use of healing waters. Sometimes you have all these natural waters that come up from the ground. In some countries, you go and you find that the water is just full of minerals. And sometimes you go in there and it's very healing to the body. Sebi used that in his protocol in Usha village in Honduras to be able to use that water. But even if you ever see, some of these waters that come out from the ground, and sometimes they have a mineral analysis to tell you what what naturally occurring minerals are in that water. You go in there and you soak in it, and it's quite healing. I personally experienced that when I would travel to South America. There was a bath, like a public bath, and I had a knee problem before I went in there. By the time I got out a few hours later, my knee had stopped hurting. So some of those things are very healing. Another way of approach to healing, some people have the gift of healing, and they can heal through prayer and fasting. A good example is a healer like Isaiah himself. He delivered a lot of people. He delivered them through the power of the set apart spirit or the Holy Spirit. As we know from the Bible, Isaiah also said in Mark 9:29, he said, some demons can only be cast out through prayer and fasting. Brother Jonathan, in one of his videos, he said, the different levels of demons. Yeah, you can't be like a grade 1 Christian and try and be casting out the grade 5. I would advocate, having a strong fasting and prayer life. So let's talk about some examples of hybrid foods. And I will start with unnatural hybrid. You have soy, corn, sugar, which is made from the sugar cane, echinacea, the seedless fruits, garlic, most potatoes, carrots, cabbage, cauliflower, cassava, beans, most beans, unless you find a wild variety. In the case of aloe vera too, it's an unnatural hybrid, unless you can find the wild variety. I'm going to do a separate video on aloe vera. The golden seal, peppermint, rice, most nuts, I think, except walnut, almonds, garlic. And in the case of non-hybrids, you have foods like bell pepper, cucumber, okra. In fact, what I'll do is I can even just give you an example of some of Sebi's. So if you look at what Dr. Sebi's nutritional guide has, it has all these, you have amaranth greens, avocado, bell pepper, chayote, cucumber, dandelion greens, garbanzo beans, exotic kale, lettuce, mushrooms, nopal, okra, olives, onions, sea vegetables, squash, tomato, that's cherry and plum only, tomatillos, I love tomatillos, turnip greens, zucchini, watercress, purslane, wild arugula for your vegetables, for your fruits. These are the things. These bananas, we have the burro bananas, berries, and then we have elderberries, cantaloupe, cherries, currants, dates, figs, grapes, limes, mango, limes, key limes only with seeds because there's a lot of seedless limes, melons, orange papaya, peaches, pears, plums, prickly pears, prunes, raisins, seeded raisins, because you notice lemon does not appear on this list, because apparently lemons are artificial too, which I was a little disappointed because I used to like lemons a lot. But like I said, it's not that you have to stop it, but just understand what it is. And if you're trying to heal and you're not, understand which foods are going to prevent you from healing. You have the sour sops and tamarind. They have herbal teas, burdock, chamomile, elderberry, fennel, ginger, raspberry, tila, grains, amaranth, fonio, kamut, quinoa, rice, bell, teflon, wild rice, nuts and seeds. You have hemp seeds, raw sesame seeds, the sesame butter, walnuts and Brazil nuts, oils, olive oil, coconut oil, rapeseed oil, sesame oil, hemp seed oil, avocado oil, and then you have some of the herbs that you can use for seasoning and peppers and things like that. And then the salts for your sweeteners. You have date sugar and pure agave syrup. It has to be pure. So you have to be careful where you buy it from. Because some of them are not made. They're made and they add. Told that some of them are adulterated. They actually add high fructose corn syrup to it or something. So you have to find an ethical source of that. Okay, so that's an example of some of the things. Now, the reality of the situation. Why these Franken foods? Well, of course, Franken foods, food that look like food, but they're not actually food. They are artificial. They're man-made, genetic modification. They're made for profit. They're made to look pretty, but they're damaging to the body. They don't really nourish the body. A lot of people need medication, supplementation, because these foods don't provide what you need. They're not nourishing. A lot of them are stimulants, and they're just non-foods. They look like food, but they're not really food. So, and obviously we're living in this Babylonian era, which, for now, it will not always be like this. But we know that the enemy is working very hard to destroy what the Most High has established for us. Same thing with food. They destroy the soil, producing non-food, frankenfoods, devoid of any real healing power or nutrition. People end up on medication and supplementation to try and maintain or regain their health. These medications, obviously, they have a lot of side effects. So it keeps people in that same poor state of health. People are sick all the time. So this is a system that has been established by the enemy. And they all these establishments, what happens? They get richer and richer at the expense of the masses who are getting poorer, and their state of health is just degrading. The system has been set up in that way, and people ask questions: why is it like that? It's not hard at all to know. It's set up by the enemy, and the aim is, we know, to steal, kill, destroy, to also destroy what the Most High has put here, to make sure that we are disconnected from the Most High. They try to confuse and deceive us with all these worldly goods, money, and things like that, to take our attention off the Most High. So just not get carried away by these things. So now that the food that should be healing us has now been altered and turned into poison. Why do we have more unnatural hybrid food available to us, cheaper than the original foods that are better for us, that are healthier, that are stronger, that are more healing? Well, first and foremost, I think a lot of it has to do with just human greed. People are more concerned with money, fame. They want to patent this or patent that. They want control. They want to control the seeds. They want to control what you can plant and what you can eat. They want to control everything. They're linked to the medical industry or linked to the pharmaceutical industry. So when you eat these foods that are not so good for you, what happens? You're sick. And when you're sick, what happens? They make money. They make money from your drugs. They make money from you being in the hospital, and your insurance, all kinds of things. That's why a few people hold all the wealth in the world. A lot of things are interconnected, and they control everything. Everything's linked. We don't see it. We're just like cogs in the wheel, right? We're just like just in the wheel of things. We're turning the wheel for them, but unless you come out of it and look at the big picture, you don't realize how we've just all been like just being used and being we don't really see how much just pure wickedness that is in control of this world, in the form of our leaders who have opened themselves up to all kinds of wicked ideas and wicked entities. And those are the things that are governing this world today, unfortunately. But we know that is going to change. So it's temporary. So what is the result of ingesting all these artificial hybrids and non-food and frankenfood? Poor brain function, malnourishment, depression, low energy, and consequently, what did you get? The need for stimulants to get themselves going, And you have things like anxiety, confusion, ADHD, diabetes, headaches, autoimmune diseases, and various other states of disease. So really, the food that should be healing us has now been altered and turned into poison. Through genetic modification, through unnatural hybridization with pesticides, it no longer has that healing property. Instead, it makes people sick, or it puts them in just below, just that average or below average health. Because some people might feel, oh, I'm not sick, I don't have a cold, whatever. But the brain is tired. Some people is brain fog. They're just tired. They are fatigued. They have aches and pains. It just, the quality of life is reduced. So what's the answer? Just stick to alkaline foods. Know the difference between all these foods. Detox regularly. With fruits and herbs to keep that lymphatic system clean and healthy, and also to get the kidneys filtering. So you do regular, detoxing and fasting, and some people go on a fruit fast. They just eat only fruits for like a few days or a week, or however long they want, and then some do it with herbs and fruits. Some only herbs, some only fruit. Just different things. But as long as you have the right formulation, you're sticking to these alkaline foods, you're gonna get much better results. So becoming a well-oiled machine, you start to see the difference. How do you achieve this? First, you stick to alkaline foods as much as possible. Know the different foods. Just do your research, find out more. Just you can join forums. They also detox at regular intervals, with fruits and herbs. Keep that lymphatic system healthy. There's also, getting regular bowel movements to rid the body of waste, and to keep the liver and other organs, in good condition, clean and functioning properly. And also removing starch from the diet will make a huge change in your life. But we just went through the list of SEBI's recommended diet, and if you stick to that list, to make a big difference in your body. But I will mention here that it is not easy. Everything you pick on the shelf, most of them have starch in them, or sugar or something, and so for many this may be a little difficult at first, but it's something to work towards. It's a standard that you can attain, and you will attain it. The people doing it and they're happy with it. It's something that will lead to much better health, your body, your mind, and your spirit. Starch is you don't realize what it's doing to you until you stop it. A good way to get some of these foods. So if you can find a good farmers market, that's a good place to shop for foods. You find a lot of fresh produce there. Sometimes you find a lot of vegetables that you don't find in the supermarket. You can also grow your own food, so you have what you need. If you cannot find it elsewhere, it's good to have your own garden. Uh, in the case of Africa, though, I have to say a lot of really high starch foods available there. And sometimes I think it was deliberate, because it looks like a lot of the food our ancestors were eating were just relegated to the background. And these hybrids like cassava, rice were just flooded into the market through imported from other countries. And then the ones that we used to eat, they're not prominent anymore. Some of them you don't find it that much because the demand for it is low. Grains, there are others like things like teff. Teff is actually Ethiopian. There's the fonio and the amaranth seeds. You can get them in areas of West Africa. I'm sure also in maybe Central Africa or South Africa. But I can do a separate video to find non-hybrid grains, Africa, and just get a list of those and talk about it. Many of us go to Africa are going to start our own gardens. We're going to start growing our own food. And one advantage of living in a rural area is that you get to see the natives still eating a lot of food that their ancestors ate before the advent of all these commercial artificial hybrids that have flooded the African market. Okay. Also, to become a well-oiled machine, I would say good health is a combination of two things: physical and spiritual aspects. So we also need to keep an eye on the spiritual aspect. So you have a good prayer life and have good rest. Okay, so those are some of the ways to become a well-oiled machine. Also, we have to learn a lot of things and relearn the things that we have forgotten. The last 400 years with things being the way they have been, we've forgotten a lot of things that our forefathers did. It could be food, it could be spirituality, and the ways of living. We're living in a Babylonian society for the past 400 years. So we must unlearn a lot of things and relearn the things that we have forgotten. We might leave Babylon, but we should not take Babylon with us when we're going back home. And we've forgotten a lot of things. Why? Because, many generations, we know, as a result of Deuteronomy 28, we lost our identity, we lost touch with the Most High. A lot of things happened where we forgot a lot of things that our forefathers did. The diet, the food, our spirituality, and doing a lot of practices that they did, many years ago. And we lost that closeness we had, to the Most High, all as part of the punishment for, the disobedience or, the sins of our ancestors. So we have to unlearn a lot of things and relearn the things we have forgotten, including the language. Very important too. And that this also brings to mind 2 Ezra 14:39, which suggests that we're going to have to drop a lot of the things that we think we know, or that we understand. We have to reform our hearts. That's like allowing new things, learning new things, and so that we can, and going back to how things used to be. And regarding unlearning, Sebi had something, really, really poignant, which is so true. He said, the African people lived for thousands of years without the aid of money. Now the African people find themselves needing money to feed themselves. They have departed so far from their ancestors that now they need money, something that was never part of the repertoire of Africa. You can't even eat if you don't have money. Now that Africa finds itself at a deficit financially, well, just go back to the ways of our fathers. Let's go back to the forest and find the herbs that have the energy. And in the meantime, we can grow the cotton that makes our clothes. We can experiment with organically electric foods where nobody buys food. That's a European thing. That's not an African thing. And Africans are dying because we have forsaken our fathers and mothers. Excellent statement by Sebi. And by the grace of the Most High, we're going back to that. So thankfully, this is going to end. And Africa will end up feeding the world, as we have seen from the prophecies. Agriculture is where it's at right now. It's going to be a very important part of surviving in the future and doing well or thriving in the future. Okay, so plant-based or meat-based diet. When people are sick, like they have all kinds of chronic problems, and usually where some of them they go to the doctor might give them some drugs, they're okay, for now, and then they go back home and carry on. They might be back or they might not be back or whatever, But some just have chronic problems where they're constantly in a state of poor health and they just kept alive by drugs or kept running on drugs, basically. You need someone who understands how to heal, okay? And usually when you go to someone who knows what they're doing, the person they will stop you from eating any meat, and you go and they make you go, purely plant-based. I also plan to do a separate video to help vegans what kind of foods to get the best spectrum of minerals that will completely replace, the need to eat meat and eat meat products or animal products. Some have turned their back on veganism because they were sick when they became vegan. To be a successful vegan, you have to understand that eating those fake meats is asking for trouble. We're not manifest now, but later, usually these things, they come forward. One, they start to manifest, in the form of different ailments in the body. Fake meats are very, very inflammatory. They are acidic. They are unnatural. Soy itself is an unnatural plant. So for healing, your best bet is to go on a plant-based diet, and even the contents of that diet, the plants that you eat, be careful to eat natural plants and avoid artificial plants. When you go to some of these natural healers, the first thing they do is they stop you eating meat and they put you on fruits, put you on herbs, for a period of time on a fast, until your body has healed itself of that disease. The gorilla has 96% DNA resemblance to the human, to the human. And what do they eat? Fruits and herbs. At least the one in the African forest, they eat fruits and herbs and shoots. They eat some shoots of fruit. So basically, the fruit is their main thing that they eat, and the shoots. When you look at a gorilla, you see how strong they are. Even the lion will not go near them. Will not challenge them. They are strong. They are big. But what do they eat? They're vegetarians. Sebi said that made a lot of sense. Said, look, if you take the gorilla and you put him in the Arctic, he won't last very long. And you have to eat according to your environment too. We are Africans. We came from Africa. So when we eat, the plants that are in Africa, they're some of the most powerful herbs. And we are powerful, in our makeup. And so those plants have been made for us. They've been made for our type of cell. They've been made for us. So they are powerful, just like we are. So when we are living out here and eating substandard foods, we're operating at a lower level than we should be because of, the food here is just not, it's not strong like we need it. We need, those strong plants with, the energy in there that will feed us. Even in South America, you find a lot of these too because it's tropical. Those tropical forests, that's where you will find the most powerful plants. Same way, if you put the polar bear in the African jungle, it's not going to do very well. He needs that fish. He needs that cold weather. He needs the fish. He needs what he was made for. Even if the polar bear survived, he won't thrive. If you put fruit and fish, in front of gorilla, he will take the fruit. Same with the polar bear, he will take the fish. So according to Sebi, he says, the gorilla does not eat meat. Where did he get that message from? He didn't go to some school for some nutritionist to tell him that meat is wrong for his genetic expression. He instinctively understands his electrical connection with life. When we are disconnected from that electrical connection, we make mistakes. We lose our intuition. Then we start to see diseases of the mind, of the body, and the spirit. And how our mind works has a lot to do with our diet. Look at a good example is where this Jamie Oliver, who came from England to come and teach schools here in the States how to feed children. The children had behavioral problems from eating, crappy food at school. So he came to come and help because we understood that what you eat directly affects your behavior. The schools who fed their children much healthier food, there was a difference in the way the children behaved when compared to some of the schools here and what they fed their children for lunch. Food has a lot to do with behavior. Look at the case of mad cow. What happened? Mad cow was as a result of them feeding the cow unnatural food. The cows eat grass. That's what they want. When they're in nature, that's what they eat. Grass. When they're outside, this is grass they go for. But instead of to start to feed them other things, I don't know what was driving that, but the cows, went mad or whatever, so it became mental disease. Another example of what food can do was in the case in the book of Daniel, where Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the king's food. We're looking at Daniel 1, verse 12. He said he would not defile himself with the king's food or the wine that he drank. So when he came before the king with his people, he requested for vegetables. He said, test your servants for 10 days. Let us be giving vegetables to eat and water to drink. He said, after 10 days, those who ate like Daniel were better in appearance and fatter in flesh than all those who ate the king's food. So that's, even biblical confirmation. According to Sebi, he says the black man was not supposed to eat meat. I assume here that he'd seen enough from his patients, starting with himself. He was in a terrible state of health when he was younger before he found out about the power of herbs. And when you come to look at it, we are the only species that destroys our food with heat before eating it. No other species damages their food that way. They eat it as is. What about the goat? They eat the leaves. They don't need to cook it because their body can handle it like that, right? What is the only food? What is the food that we can eat without having to prepare it? Now, that is how you find out the natural food of any species. What are they drawn to eat that doesn't need preparation, that doesn't give them problems in digestion? For us, it's fruits. Vegetable fruits and sweet fruits, sour fruits, all those other classes of fruit, they are the food we can eat without preparation and we can digest it easily. And the herbs too, yeah, we don't need to prepare them. So fruits and then herbs. And the Bible says it give you fruits and herbs. Fruit and herbs for food. And that's clear from Genesis. So when we cook our food, we're destroying it, destroying the food, really. So basically, eat as raw as possible. The more you can eat the raw food, the better, because that's where the healing energy is. When you cook the food, when it's alkaline food, it's still good for you. You just get more out of the raw food. So if there's a way to make some of your meals every day just raw, like one meal can just be fruit, all fruits, could be the breakfast, good fruit, not seedless and all those things. Good fruit, not artificial ones. Or it could just be one meal every day, a salad, for dinner or something, and no franking foods in there. Mostly try and stick to vegetable fruits that with seeds, and there's lettuce and some other greens that are good. They're not artificial. You make salad out of those. You can just start with just having that one meal every day that is raw. You will start to see a difference before long. So fruits are the top of my list for foods because we can eat them raw without preparation. That shows that is our natural food. In the case of meat, you gotta cook it or boil it. It's not easy to digest. It takes a long time. Plus, it just causes inflammation galore in your body. It's not your natural food. If you're eating food and it's causing inflammation, that's not what you're supposed to be eating. So you want to eat what your body loves naturally, but we process it so easily. It's in harmony with your body. It's in harmony. Okay. So in conclusion, I would say, to prevent falling sick, you need knowledge of what if each food is, what would each one do in your body, how to identify them. Also just, experimenting with different things and seeing what works for you. Always listen to what your body is saying. To end this, I would just say, when you stick with what the Most High has created and designed for us, since, as our creator, he has the blueprint. And based on that blueprint, he's put some plans out there that is meant just for us. It promotes our spiritual and our physical, mental well-being so that we can commune with him even better and worship him with clear minds, with love in our hearts. So when we stick with what he has created, we will see the benefits. But I believe it will bring us even closer to the Most High. And then your fasting periods and your prayer and your fellowship with the Most High will, I believe it will benefit really well from it. Thank you for listening.
Yamazulu King Fumu Kwakuisa Kembo Natatanzambi Yamazulu King Fumu Kwakuisa Kembo Natata Wamulu Elimo Kembo Natata Wamulu Elimo Kembo Natata Zambi